You're listening to Swift News, your daily news briefing in just 10 minutes. This is episode 40, and it's June 12, 2025. Let's get into today's stories. Sometimes, to really get a handle on things, you just need to freeze time for a second. Look at one single day, what was really going on.
Exactly. Not just the headlines you scroll past, but the connections, the smaller shifts.
Right, so that's our mission today. We're diving deep into June 12, 2025, taking that day's events and really unpacking them.
Trying to find the key takeaways, what links these different stories, and crucially, what it all means for you.
Okay, so June 12, 2025. Let's start with the big picture. Politics, global affairs. What stood out?
Well, one significant thing was India's Prime Minister Modi wrapping up a visit to the UK. And the focus wasn't just, say, trade.
Oh, what?
There were new agreements announced on technology cooperation, climate action targets, even cultural exchanges. It suggests a broadening relationship.
So more strategic than just transactional.
I think that's a good way to put it, looking at shared challenges, shared opportunities. Okay, and elsewhere.
The UN Security Council was active on Yemen. They passed a resolution calling for urgent humanitarian aid.
A stark reminder, isn't it? While some talk tech, others face famine.
Absolutely. It puts a spotlight on the need for immediate international response.
And the big economic players.
Yeah.
U.S. and China.
They were starting formal trade talks in Geneva. The feeling was described as cautious optimism.
Diplomatic speak. But them talking at all is something, right?
Definitely. After all the tension, just being at the table is significant. These talks, they impact global supply chains, markets, everything really. So any movement matters.
Cautious optimism it is then. What about in Europe?
France and Germany were proposing a joint EU defense fund. The aim was boosting military readiness, innovation.
Ties into that whole European strategic autonomy push we've been hearing about.
Exactly. Less reliance maybe on others. Pooling resources for defense tech is a concrete step.
And one more on the political front?
A domestic one from South Africa. President Ramaphosa launched a new anti-corruption task force, tackling graft head-on. Important for governance, public trust.
Vitally important. It signals it's a major priority internally.
So, quite a mix just on the political stage for one day. High-level deals, humanitarian crises, trade talks, defense shifts, domestic reforms. It really shows the complexity.
And how interconnected it all is, impacting things that ultimately touch your life, from markets to security.
Okay, let's shift to the economy then. What was the pulse on June 12th?
Global markets were generally up slightly.
What was driving that?
Seemed linked to that cautious optimism around the U.S.-China talks. Plus, stable oil prices. Markets love stability, even hints of it.
Makes sense. Any specific central bank moves?
India's central bank kept interest rates unchanged. They cited controlled inflation, steady growth, basically a steady-as-she-goes signal.
A sign of confidence in their current path.
Pretty much. No need to hit the brakes or the accelerator just yet.
And you mentioned oil prices being stable.
Yes, OPEC Plus reaffirmed they'd keep production stable through the summer.
Which matters for, everyone's budget, right? Gas prices, transport costs.
Absolutely. Stability there has a direct impact.
Any specific sectors doing well?
Japan's tech exports were reported as surging. Boosting their trade surplus, market confidence, shows that sector's still a powerhouse for them.
And development finance.
The World Bank approved a big loan for Indonesia, about $1.5 billion for infrastructure and education projects.
Investing in the fundamentals for long-term growth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Roads, schools, power things that enable future potential.
So the economic picture is also complex. Market sentiment, interest rates, commodities, trade, development, it's all woven together.
It really is. Understanding these threads helps make sense of broader trends that affect investments, jobs, even the cost of goods.
Right. Let's move to technology and innovation, always moving fast. What was happening on June 12th?
Apple pushed an update for their AR headset. The interesting bits were more advanced gesture controls and new immersive educational content.
So AR getting more intuitive and moving into practical uses like education.
Seems like the direction. Exploring how it could change learning or training.
What else?
Google announced a big expansion of its digital literacy program in Africa. The goal is training millions by 2026.
That's huge. Addressing the digital divide is critical.
Absolutely. Digital skills are essential now for everything. Economic participation, education access.
Any space news?
India's space agency, ISRO, had a successful test of their crewed space capsule. It's a key step for their planned mission in 2026.
India joining the Human Spaceflight Club. That's significant progress.
It really is. Shows their growing technical capability and ambition in space.
Back on Earth, anything on sustainable tech?
There was news about Tesla partnering with Indian automakers. The idea is to develop more affordable EVs specifically for the Indian market.
Makes sense. Tailoring the tech to local needs and costs.
Exactly. A strategic move to try and speed up EV adoption there.
And the less exciting but necessary side of tech.
A cybersecurity warning. A new wave of phishing attacks targeting remote workers and small businesses.
Always a threat. And remote workers and small businesses are often more vulnerable, right?
Often, yes. Maybe less robust security infrastructure. It's a constant reminder about digital vigilance. Stay alert with those emails and links.
So tech is everywhere, changing how we interact, learn, travel, even how we need to protect ourselves online. It's a lot to keep up with.
It really is. Both incredible opportunities and very real risks emerging constantly.
Okay, let's lighten things up slightly. Sports, entertainment, culture. What snapshots did June 12th offer?
Big news in sports. India won the ICC T20 World Cup cricket tournament, their third title. Huge celebrations reported across the country.
Nothing unites a nation like a major sports win.
True. And the NBA offseason was buzzing with player trades and signings. Always drama there.
Keeps fans talking all summer.
Definitely. Also, the French Open tennis champions were being celebrated. And India's women's hockey team had a good win in the FIH Pro League.
Good to see success across different sports.
Now, looking ahead, preparations for the Paris 2024 Olympics were intensifying. Always a massive undertaking.
On the entertainment side.
Taylor Swift's re-recorded Reputation album was breaking streaming records. Shows her incredible cultural power.
Still dominating. Any other music news?
BLACKPINK's Lisa announced a collaboration with a Grammy winner. K-pop's global reach just keeps expanding.
And movies.
Summer blockbusters were apparently doing really well at the box office. People still heading to cinemas for big releases.
Nice. Any cultural highlights?
India's National Museum opened an exhibit on ancient Indian science and tech, connecting history with innovation.
Fascinating.
And London's West End theaters were celebrating Pride Month with special events.
So these stories show the human side, right? Shared joy, cultural conversations, celebrating history and identity.
Exactly. It's the context, the color, the human experience behind the bigger headlines.
All right, finally, let's look at environment science and those often inspiring human stories.
On the environment, a global climate summit wrapped up with new pledges on emissions cuts and green tech investment. The usual push and pull of international climate efforts.
Trying to turn goals into action.
Right. But there was also some positive news. Encouraging signs of coral recovery on the Great Barrier Reef, linked to conservation work.
Oh, that's good to hear. A sign that efforts can actually work.
It is. A bit of hope. In science, NASA's Artemis III mission, the one aiming for the moon next year, completed final system checks.
Ticking the boxes, getting closer to that moon landing.
Step by step. And India launched a national campaign promoting solar energy adoption, a practical push for renewables.
And wasn't there a big statistic out of Africa?
Yes, Kenya's reforestation initiative planted over 60 million trees just this year. An incredible number, a new national record.
Wow, 60 million, that's tangible action.
Truly impressive. Then there were some amazing individual stories. A student in Chennai invented a portable water purifier that got international attention.
That's fantastic. Grassroots innovation making a difference.
Absolutely. And Canadian volunteers were honored for their wildfire recovery work, recognizing community resilience.
People stepping up in crisis.
Also, a doctor in Brazil using a mobile clinic to reach remote Amazon villages, bringing healthcare where it's desperately needed.
Overcoming huge barriers.
Germany expanded its Green Schools initiative, teaching sustainability to more kids. And a teacher in Kenya reached thousands of rural students using a digital education program.
So these stories show the power of individual action, community efforts.
I think so. Innovation, resilience, dedication. People finding ways to tackle problems, big and small. From climate change to local healthcare access to education, it balances out some of the tougher global news.
Okay, so stepping back from June 12th, 2025, we've seen diplomacy, economics, tech breakthroughs and risks, cultural moments, environmental action, and these really human stories.
It's a snapshot of a world that's incredibly complex, constantly moving, challenges and progress happening side by side, problems and solutions emerging all at once.
It really highlights the interconnectedness of everything, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Decisions in one area ripple outwards in ways we might not immediately see.
So the final thought for you listening, considering all these different threads happening on just one day around the globe, How does seeing this interconnected picture maybe change how you view your own part in it all?
Yeah, what piece of this June 12th snapshot resonates most with you? What sparks your curiosity to learn more? Something to think about.